Tomorrow is Canada Day, which many celebrate, but is also a time to reflect on the history of our nation, some of which has been absent from our education system. Carrie Benjo is a master's student at the University of Regina, working on a project on the last generation of residential school survivors. She's written a piece for CBC Saskatchewan on the topic of systemic racism in Canada and joins me now. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk today, Carrie.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So in your article, you talk a little bit about being a mother and how it can be difficult sometimes to teach your child about racism. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it is a very hard topic to discuss. Just because as a parent, you want to protect your child from the ugliness of the world, and unfortunately, with social media and everything, it's really hard to shield your children from everything they're going to see and witness. And I think it's really important for us as parents to give our children the tools they have to be confident in who they are and be confident when they go out into the world. I'm visibly Indigenous. My children are Indigenous, and I wanted my daughter to have the confidence in herself to be able to face racism and be able to answer it and not feel inferior.
So you talk a little bit about, in your article, about an undertaking that you've had over the past month, an educational journey almost through social media. What have you been up to?
Um, well, it all started when my daughter asked me a question. She said, "How can somebody hate somebody just because of the color of their skin?" And I took that as an opportunity not to just talk about racism, but being in the month of June, I thought, okay, well, why not? Why not just share it with my child, but with everyone about our history? And maybe some people haven't had the opportunity to learn about the history like I have. So starting June 1st, I committed to 30 days of sharing a fact of Indigenous history. I highlighted some role models from the past and from the present, and I did it just to celebrate Indigenous History Month, and hopefully along the way, other people would be learn a little bit more about themselves. And it was quite the undertaking. It wasn't that it was too difficult. It was the last 10 days of writing about Indigenous history that I really had to pick and choose what I was going to write about, because I probably could write for a year every day about Indigenous history and still not cover it. But I'm really happy with what I was able to produce. It's most of what I've shared is things I've experienced and things I know personally. When I completed my opinion piece, it was eye-opening to know my own history that I didn't even recognize. Um, Being born in the 70s, I realized that I lived, I was segregated from the rest of the population. I attended all Indigenous education facilities, day school, residential school. And when I got sick, I went to the Fort Capel Indian Hospital. I lived primarily on reserve. We only came to the city for supplies, but yeah, I was isolated, and and realizing that I was segregated was it really changed how I look at things now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Carrie, we appreciate your efforts in, the education and, of course, your piece as well. And thanks so much for talking to us about it today.
Well, thanks for having me.